IVM.
Okay, if you want to know what's happening in the city and your parents are too old to guide you, look no further. The podcast will tell you about culture, happening scenes, dates, events, and much more. Podcast. Keep you clued in. Check out new episodes on our IVM podcast apps. Happy listening, and fathers. Alright, please note that the language and ideas presented on the show might not be suitable for everyone. If you're under 18, make sure your mom isn't around. If you're over 80, why is your mom around?
You're listening to Cyrus Says.
Manu Chandra is an executive chef and entrepreneur. He's also a man who owns 5,697 different restaurants in the city of Bangalore alone. Truth or dare? We'll find out on Cyrus Says.
Why follow your auntie's advice when you can follow Cyrus Says on Facebook and Twitter to stay updated about the latest shows?
Yeah, here on Cyrus Says, observe something, and not sexist, but I just want to say it. A lot of women with long hair tend to pull the hair and then smell it while talking. Now, if men did it, it would be like a terrible thing to do and unhygienic. But I'm just pointing it out there. I'm just pointing it out. I've seen it many times. The long hair, they sort of play with it. I understand that. And then they sort of smell it. What's with that? Can you explain it? Cyrus Says.
And that's what Cyrus says.
Okay, here on Cyrus Says, we are meeting one of the great chefs. Well, he said don't say the word great, but I'm saying it anyway because for 50 rupees, I'll say anything. Manu Chandra, so don't worry. Chef Manu Chandra, executive chef and entrepreneur. Very famous man in the culinary world, from writing books to menus to designing restaurants to owning them. And of course, we'll begin with the terrible news that we just heard of poor Manu's shirt. Manu, what happened with the shirt?
It's classic. It's when you're pretty much living out of a suitcase, things like that happen. I ended up...
But people don't understand the kind of pressures people are under. Let them know the truth. So you came on a flight and...
No, I didn't come on a flight. I came on a flight last night. I
checked into a hotel.
I did 3 cities yesterday, basically. I did Bangalore,
and
Calcutta, and Bangalore.
And you're not the Prime Minister. So
I'm not, I know. Huh. I wish I were, yeah. No, actually I don't. I take that back.
If they burnt his shirt, you'll never hear of them again. Yeah. So basically, cut a long story short, the hotel burnt your shirt.
No, I did myself.
You did it yourself?
Yeah.
How?
It's got a wardrobe malfunction.
So, aap to chef hai, sir?
Exactly.
So, I thought your hands will be very good with all this.
Not ironing.
The good news is you were not inside your shirt when it burnt.
No.
Thank God.
No.
So, all good. We'll skip on. Manu Chandra, of course, is executive chef and entrepreneur responsible for 3 very distinct restaurants. The Monkey Bar, the first of its kind gastropub. We'll explain that in a second. The Fatty Bao, which is the trendy Asian gastro. And the award-winning Mediterranean restaurant Olive Beach. That's spelled B-I-T-C-H? No. B-E-A-C-H. All right, Manu, let's start with this.
And Toast and Tonic, you missed that.
And Toast and Tonic, which was not... Oh, it is mentioned, actually. I just didn't read it. What a moron. I do apologize. Toast and Tonic. We'll go one by one. Which was the first of the 4? Olive?
Olive, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The whole story started with Olive. That was nearly 14 years ago. So I'd... Not the Bombay one. The Bombay one was...
Delhi, right?
No, Bombay was first, and that was about 17 years ago. We were celebrating our 17th year this year.
Okay.
And I just returned from New York. I was working there, and I was basically chefing there, and bumped into AD. And he said, the problem is that chefs like you, all of them tend to stay abroad and never come back because that's essentially what most people did at that time. And we're constantly looking for people, and we're looking at creating this product in Bangalore. Would you be interested? And I said, yeah, we'll give it a shot. And I went to Bangalore, great city, lovely weather, found this 250-year-old bungalow, which was going to be turned into a restaurant, fell in love with it.
Threw the family out.
Yeah. I have a Parsi landlord, by the way.
Still?
Yeah, of course. And and we stayed, and it's been 14 years now, which is a heck of an ask with how restaurants are going these days to keep a place relevant and sustained.
Yeah, actually. Yeah. You think about it, most of them shut shop in a couple of years or change names, brands. I'll ask you about that a little later.
Yeah.
But I want to first set up these 4, then I want to go into your life as well.
Yeah.
So that's Olive. So how do you explain Olive in terms of cuisine? What would you say?
It's Mediterranean. And
it's remained Mediterranean or the typical Indian biryani?
Butter chicken dal? No, we haven't done that. And I think, unfortunately, here at that particular point of time, there was a requirement for being compartmentalized. So you had to be something. You just couldn't be a place doing great food, which was progressive, inspired largely by the Mediterranean region, which is how we started and we continue to do it.
Hence the word olive.
Hence the word olive, yes. But it actually broke the proverbial glass ceiling when it opened, because it was doing really stuff which was way ahead of its time. It was keeping up with international trends. There was new cooking techniques coming to the fore, etc. Which a lot of this, was
there a market for Mediterranean food? Growing up in Mumbai, one never saw that right up to olive, to be honest.
Well, in a structured way, of course. I mean, you'd seen the pizza, you'd seen the pasta, you'd seen everything saucy. Everything came with either mushroom sauce or pepper sauce.
Which I love.
Absolutely. Comfort is comfort. You can't change that. But there wasn't anyone doing it in any depth. And I think Olive really was the first. Olive was really the first to open Bandra,
I think. Is it fair to say you sort of opened the palates and allowed people to experience this for the first time and created a market?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. That many years ago, there was only 1 or 2 restaurants that were really making a mark in Bombay, especially. There was Indigo and there was Olive. There was very little else in between besides the 5-star hotels.
No, I don't think there was any Mediterranean as far as my time, so I should remember. Okay, let's fast forward to the next one. Monkey Bar. Oh no, in order, what was the next one?
Monkey Bar was the next one.
Okay, and what is that all about? Tell us.
So Monkey Bar was...
Gastropub.
It was a gastropub. And it started in Bangalore, right opposite Olive, actually.
What the hell? You compete with yourself? What kind of guy does that?
It's unbelievable.
It's like running yourself out in cricket.
No. And,
so what do? You're doing really well in one. You but wahan pe jana? That's also good.
Something like that. But I think control. To be able to incubate a product which is close to where you are is always easier. The further away you go, the harder it is to be able to keep control of what's happening. And the idea of Monkey Bar was born, which was, of course, in the pub city.
The pub city, but growing up in Bangalore, rather going to Bangalore a lot in the 90s and 2000s, they shut everything at 10.
Yes.
So it's a pub, but you finish your first beer and then they say, okay, thank you, last beer.
So a little more civilized that way, because people also step out earlier. Or they did. Of course, things are very different now. We also open till 1:30, like the rest of the country pretty much. But the idea was to basically revive the entire pub culture, which had...
What is a gastropub? Sorry to interrupt.
I'm getting to that, which was revive the pub culture, but also make it a bona fide dining destination. So great food, great vibe, good beer, and not just beer on tap. There was also interesting stuff. Everything was thrown in, and it was also about celebrating a lot of Indianness. So there was a lot of comfort zone dishes from across the country. So you could have had, for example, a patrana machi.
Really?
At a gastropub. You could have had a pandi curry from Coorg at a gastropub.
These are actual examples?
These are actual examples. Okay. We had something from West Bengal. But basically a lot of short eats which were inspired by the country. So it was celebrating the diversity of food in the country through this one medium. And... of course, we opened it with a whole, fair amount of trepidation. We didn't know which way it's going to go. And, I mean, the lines outside that place for the first year were testament to the fact that everyone was just waiting for something like this to happen.
We're all monkeys in this country.
We are.
You see Monkey Bar? Yeah, I'm going there. Why Monkey Bar? Who came up with the name?
Well, we went through a list of names, and this was the most catchy one. Of course, there was a fair bit of debate that happened internally, whether this would be the right name or not. Would it be too much of a bar positioning? Would it not fall into gastropub positioning, etc.? All that happened, but it just rolled off the tongue easily. It has a double E because monkey bars are also the things that kids play on. Yeah. And it worked. It was easy. It was an easy recall. It was a nice logo, and we stuck with it.
Okay, so that's 2 down. Fatty Bao, the trendy Asian gastro.
It's a gastro bar. Yeah, it's well, I don't know how trendy it is, but it's definitely very, very popular in almost every city we're in. And we're about to open the 4th one. Not the 4th one, the 4th city.
This is like Thai.
Well, no. Thai, very, very, very little Thai on the menu. I wouldn't say more than 2% actually. I think there's just a papaya salad and one curry that makes it. So that doesn't really make it Thai. Right after Monkey Bar, we'd actually opened another restaurant, which was very ambitious. It was out in the suburbs of Bangalore. It was a gorgeous space. It was a gorgeous concept, but it just didn't work. And see, that's the thing about restaurants. You just cannot predict what works and what doesn't work sometimes. And after things start going downhill, you have a tendency of sort of grabbing on to reasons and hindsight and... but
what is the success rate? Is there a figure?
Yeah, well, I think globally it's not more than 10%.
What are you saying? That's pretty low.
Yeah, it is very
So
low.
90% of enterprises don't really work.
Not beyond, see, so there's of course slabs in it. Most don't work beyond 2 years, most don't work beyond 5. And I mean, that's still a bit of a stretch. In today's market, 5 years is already a long time. But that's really what the failure rate globally is of restaurants. And it's becoming a very crowded market. So the failure rate is even higher.
Okay, let's get back to Fatty Bao. So what food do I get there?
So you get, well, a lot of Asian-inspired stuff. We basically brought the bao, which is that sandwich type of open-face, soft bun thing with fillings into the country. We started doing ramens in a fairly large, focused way. And then we had a whole bunch of both small plates and large plates, which were, again, inspired by Asia, had a bit of twist from our side. And... but just really tasty food in comfortable environments.
But do you think Indians, what do we like more, noodles or rice?
That's a good question.
50-50?
Yeah, I'd say 50-50.
Not bad.
Yeah.
All right. And the last one, which I forgot to mention, was toast and tonic.
Mm-hmm. So toast and tonic is the most recent addition to our repertoire. And of course, the larger company has other brands as well. There's Soda Bottle Opener Wala, which you haven't mentioned. And there's...
I've eaten there.
Oh.
Yeah. The one at BKC.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. So that's also yours.
That's part of Olive, yes.
Oh, okay.
And I'm a partner at Olive, so.
Right.
And then we have Guppi by Eye, which is a Japanese restaurant. We've just opened Lady Baga in Bangalore, and we have one in Delhi, which is from Goan food. Mm-hmm. It's got a happy Goan vibe. It's just opened in Bangalore and really taken off.
Wow, taking care of all our communities. Goan food, Parsi food. Never thought I'll see the day. I thought it was all going extinct in the last 10 years.
No, that's
almost reversing the trend here.
Absolutely. A lot of revival. It's fun.
All right, Manu, let's just quickly go into your life and then we'll come back to where you are right now. Mm-hmm. Let's find out a little bit about who you were growing up and how you landed up in the business many years ago. So let's how did you become a chef? Where did it all start? How do you decide to go to culinary school and things like that?
Yeah, well, that's an easy
You're
one
a St.
to answer.
Stephen's College alumnus, which means you never suffered.
No.
The truth is that, you had a lovely life. And you speak English like a man from Gloucester. So, frankly speaking, I don't feel any empathy now for you. I feel you had a silver spoon. Maybe a whole set of silver stuff. Lots of silver.
No, unfortunately, you cannot get into Stephen's unless you have the requisite grades and you just... it's ridiculous now. I think it's 99%.
Yeah, what is with that? I read that.
I have no idea.
So does that really make sense? It's beyond comedy. So do you actually apply like at 98% and they say no?
Yes. There are stories.
And you feel like a failure in your parents' eyes.
Speaks volumes of our educational system. I don't know how people even score that kind of stuff.
But back in the old days...
Score grades, I mean. Huh?
What did you get?
I must have gotten...
Which school were you in?
I was in something called Mothers International.
Mothers International. That sounds like a dirty film I want to make. And then from there, you went to Stephen's.
That's right. That's the educational curve, but I was always interested in cooking.
Is there a background? Father or something? Grandfather? Somebody? Is there any food background?
No, none whatsoever. Okay. I'm the outlier in that case.
Right. So you went to Stephen's, and then where did the bug hit you?
No, the bug had already hit me. The bug had hit me in school, way beyond. Well, before school, actually. It was middle school, probably, and I knew that cooking and food is something that I love truly. I hadn't quite decided whether making it a career was a bona fide option at that particular point of time, because chefs weren't really looked upon. The career wasn't looked upon as being a bona fide career. It just seemed to be a vocational one. And that was changing also slowly. I had applied to hotel management schools as well before I applied to Stephen's. But I think there was a fairly vehement backlash at home saying that you always have your options open and covered. Make sure that you have an education.
I think that's growing up in India in the 80s and before,
No, 90s.
90s, fair enough.
So it hadn't changed.
They're younger than me again. So you went into Stephen's. Take us forward. Then what happens after that?
So I was studying and I was working part-time. Simultaneously, so I never really let go. I was also working
where?
Many places, but I was...
But nothing to do with food?
No, absolutely food only.
Okay.
So in school, I was working part-time at a couple of hotels. I was apprenticing there. So I'd go to school in the day, in the evening, I'd go and work there. It was extremely hard work.
And in the kitchen?
In the kitchen. And during college, I was helping set up a cafe, doing their menus, working, doing some caterings. This was, I think late 90s, early 2000s. So the type of food I was trying to do out of that cafe in a market which has now exploded, but there was nothing there. It was called Khan Market in Delhi, which of course is the gold standard of going out. That was probably one of the first places, and people really liked the stuff I was doing, and that just sort of reaffirmed my belief that I was probably headed in the right direction.
What was your major at the same time?
History.
Oops. So it was professor or it was professor of food? We'll find out in a second. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back lots more with Manu Chandra, executive chef, entrepreneur, visionary, food lover, and 50% discount for anybody who knows him.
Shunyavan, 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 Shunyavan.
$1 billion acquisition. Another copycat startup got formed.
No, the tech world in India is surely moving double the speed of this voiceover.
Tune in to Shunya One every Tuesday to catch us talking to the smartest people we know on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Back here with Chef Manu Chandra. Do you like being called chef?
No, Manu's fine.
No, but is it important? Because I hear a lot of people who are chefs like to be called chef.
No, I have no such.
It doesn't make a difference to you.
Issues, no.
Okay, so now again, we've reached the point where you're studying history in St. Stephen's, but at the same time, you're dabbling everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You're learning your craft. Then you go in for a formal sort of culinary degree?
Yes, I did. Actually, just getting into college was a very interesting story. I don't know how many people have told this. I probably have, but I haven't. Now I can't remember how many. But getting into that college was a big shit, right? And that I made the cutoff was enough and made it to the interview round. So I show up for the interview, and of course at that time, the late Anil Wilson was the principal of the college. And it had a phenomenal faculty who sat for the interview.
Whole faculty?
No. So basically, if it was for history, I was applying for history. You had the history faculty, and you had a couple of others who would then grill the students. And It was a fairly thorough interview. And it was hilarious because most of the conversation centered around food, because they asked me what I like to do, and I said I like to cook. So Wilson sort of raised his head.
History went out of the window.
Yeah. And he, adjusted his spectacles and looked at me straight, and he said, "You like to cook, is it?" I said, "Yes." So I said, "That's the end of the interview. I'm going to get thrown out, because who wants a bawarchi coming to college?" And it was fantastic. So he's like, "What do you like to cook?" And the whole conversation started with food. So it was a great icebreaker. And of course we got to history, and I knew my stuff, so that helped. And they were all smiling by the end of it, because I think they were looking at people who had varied interests. They just didn't want kitabi kidas in college.
They wanted their own fly-by-night cook on the side. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I got through, of course. But after college, I did apply to the Culinary Institute of America, which is in Hyde Park in New York, which continues to be one of the best schools for cooking. It's a rigorous program. It's a year and a half, roughly, for the professional degree. It was an eye-opener, going to New York at a very bad time, I must
really?
say. Because
socially?
2001 was not the best time to go to New
right
York.
There in the middle of all
2001, yeah. And
so you were there when it happened?
Yes. And yeah, that was it. But it was just incredible, because New York was... This is pre-social media, you have to understand. So we're still talking about 2000s, but the social media hasn't even been invented, really. It's not out there. You couldn't just Google stuff and recipes, etc., and go and bust your stuff. You had to be in kitchens to understand how techniques worked. There were no YouTube videos to fall back on. You had to learn it the hard way. And you had to bounce from kitchen to kitchen, even when you were studying. So I'd be studying 4 to 5 days, whatever the schedule was, take the train, go down to Manhattan and apprentice in any kitchen I could get into. And the easiest way of doing that, even if it was minus 20 outside in the winter, would be standing at the back waiting for the sous chef and saying, "Can I just stage here for 2 days or 3 days so I can get to learn something?" And very often you'd start by washing dishes, because they were always short in the dishwashing department.
So they don't pay you? You just come in and...
Oh, it's completely free.
Wow.
Yeah. And
That's how America built itself. Free immigrants, come here.
And that was fantastic. So that's probably where I got some of my best learning, because when you get, down and dirty is when you know how things actually work.
And these are all types of restaurants that you went to?
Yeah, but they were mostly very fancy French fine dining, 3-star Michelin now, because the Michelin stars weren't in New York then. But they were extremely famous chefs in the conventional sense. And newspapers used to write about them, and magazines. Again, like I said, there wasn't any access to... there was no smartphone yet. So you just had to do your research and understand which was a good place to go to and which wasn't. Thankfully, there was no Yelp either. But there was no... so the New York Times was our gold standard. And if you were a 2-star, 3-star New York Times restaurant, you knew this was the place to go to. If you were a 4-star New York Times restaurant, which was almost impossible, there was only 2 or 3 of them in New York at that time. One of them was Le Bernardin, another place that I apprenticed at. You just stood there and begged and got in. And of course, school itself was phenomenal because...
Were there many Indians in the course?
Oh, God, no. I believe now there is a huge contingent. In fact, ironically, Pooja from Love 15 and I were in Paris together last year. And she said that her alma mater, which is the Le Cordon Bleu in Paris, has a new campus. So let's go and check it out. So we hopped across. Beautiful location, lovely view. And we walk into the school and we greeted, of course, Pooja is mega celebrity. So, she had the dean of the college welcome her at the gate and all. And we walked through that and we got a walk through the campus. I don't think there was a single Caucasian chehra over there except for the instructors. Everyone was Chinese, or
Really?
Korean, everyone. So, culinary schools across the world are being taken over by Asians. When I say Asians, I speak very broadly because it could be people from Thailand, it could be Koreans, it could be Chinese, it could be Japanese, it could be Indians. So that's good news for the food industry here because they're all going to come back. It's not like everyone's going to get permanent residence or green card or whatever, what have you. They'll all be coming back and we'll have a deep pool of talent which we have lacked for many years. In the structured, trained headspace, we've obviously always had very talented chefs and cooks. But when it comes to the business side of it, you need people with management bandwidth. You need people who understand numbers. You need people who can multitask because that's really what it takes to be a good chef today. It's just not skill.
How sad. You're going to be an accountant and all. The whole thing has changed. Before, all you have to do is wear an apron, get into the kitchen and you're done. Okay, what is this slow cooking? Manu leans towards painstakingly controlled and cooked things and a lover of slow cooking. Is that...
Gosh, that's a really old profile, huh? There can't be a singular love affair with food or its techniques, and those keep changing.
Well, to be fair, it does say on the flip side you're fond of incredibly fast cooking as well.
Yeah. I covered all bases when I said that.
Yeah.
No, I do. When I say slow cooking, is basically like stews and curries and things that take a long time to make, and you're basically extracting the nuances from the few ingredients that you're working with. You get a lot of depth of flavor, and that's really what constitutes a comfort food, right? Where you want a bowl of something with rice and then, sitting in front of the television and enjoying that. And that does take a certain amount of skill. You can't just throw 5 things together and make a really good curry. Fast cooking, on the other hand, is very skill-driven, is when you're taking a lot of fresh ingredients and assembling them through the application of heat or even cold, but balancing flavors, textures, to create something that's really exciting. And
but does Manu Chandra have a favorite? Or is there a style of cooking that is yours?
I don't. I've always...
Which is your favorite cuisine to eat?
I eat everything. I honestly, I have days where I just...
Worst cuisine? Which is the one you hate? It's got to be something. What would you really not like to be fed?
I just think there are some cuisines which don't have enough depth and excitement. I travel to Germany once in a while and I can't say that I'm the biggest lover of their food, even though they have amazing
You don't like meat and potatoes?
Yeah, exactly. So there's only so much of it I can do, and that's why Turkish food does so well there. Of course, there's history and immigration, etc. that factors in, but that's true of so much of the world. Is how much world cuisine generally has been inspired by the influx of immigrants.
Yeah.
If you look at right now, Peruvian cuisine is the hottest thing going across the world, but that's thanks to the Japanese. So the largest Japanese population outside of Japan is in Peru, and Peru even had a Japanese prime minister, of Japanese descent really. and this whole Peruvian Japanese sort of thing,
Hybrid sort of thing. Yeah.
hybrid cuisine has happened because of that.
See how we've globalized the world thanks to food? Nobody understands that.
Food is
You have
actually a
brought
very
people together,
large
Mr.
part
Chandra.
of food is a very large part of how history has been shaped also.
We need a cooking minister. I think we have to take food more seriously. It's
We
a
do.
more secular way to live. We're running out of time, but a couple of things. One is the book. So is there a book out?
No, there's no book out.
So I was misinformed about the book as well.
No, I wrote a book when I was in school.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, it never got published.
You wrote
But,
a book on food?
on food, on vegetarian recipes, international vegetarian recipes. When nothing like that was really available in the market, it was taking.
With this present government, it will be a big hit.
I believe so.
I think we should publish it. Let me make some calls. Do you still have it?
It's somewhere, but obviously I've lost interest in that because there's so much more to do, and that was when I was like 17, so it doesn't even count.
Okay, as we come to the end, the one thing I want to ask you is, do you ever get... People ask many people who are famous in their lines the same question, but do you ever get too much of it? I mean, you're surrounded by food, you think about food, I suppose anyone who meets you on the road will be like, oh, Manu Chandra, the chef, yeah, food. So do you ever get into a point where you need a break from food or just too much? Because it's your life.
No, actually, what's really nice about cooking or being around food is that you never know from which corner or which quarter the inspiration comes. So you could be traveling and suddenly you see some crop or some saag. You could be sitting at a table and having a conversation with someone and you taste something different. So you constantly get re-inspired, which prevents the monotony that you may be talking about. The other part of it, which is even cooler, is that it's the greatest icebreaker, and it's
That it is.
not only does it polarize at one level, but it also is able to bring everybody into the fold of a conversation without having to worry too much. And that's where my safety net lies, that I can be in any environment, in any gathering, and I'll always have something to speak
You'll
about.
be able to mix because somebody will like something.
Absolutely.
All right, Manu, as we say bye, is there something else in the future that we can look forward to? Is there a new restaurant, new type of food coming out from your kitchen, so to speak?
Absolutely. Working on new brands, working on new products. There's a lot of R&D happening right now. As a company, we're at 36 restaurants right now, which is a lot nationally, and we're only growing.
So who decides, for example, Goan cuisine, which has a limited, I love it, but, it's not done that well in the past. Who decides that, okay, let's push this or push that?
So there's 3 partners, and everyone's constantly coming up with great ideas. And AD, who's one of the founders and the promoter for Olive,
The guy with the skinny legs, yeah, I've seen him.
I think he likes Jodhpurs, that's why.
Oh.
But he said he always, for quite a few years, wanted to do a Goan product. And it was only a matter of time that Lady Baga would come around. In fact, he also owns Soul Fry and Soul Casa, which have been around forever.
Correct.
And, good, solid Goan
It's more
khana.
hardcore, yeah.
So that basically got folded into this, and Lady Baga was born. Plus, of course, Faribao Calcutta will open very soon. We'll probably make an announcement tomorrow, day after. So, yeah, it's non-stop. But it's different, it's also a business now. So you have to
Mix and match,
you
yeah.
have to mix and match. You have to tread carefully. You have to understand that there are more dynamics at play.
Right. Do you miss beef?
Why would I miss it?
I'm just asking.
It's available in Bangalore.
Oops. On that note, Manu Chandra, thank you so much and all the best to you. I'm sure we'll hear from you soon.
Super. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Manu, you'll have to stop for a second because I have AMAs coming up right now with Naveen and Charanya, 2 of the greatest people I know.
Tired of the shrill madness of primetime television?
Can't make sense of your morning newspaper anymore?
Then take a break to delve into some real conversations about policy, politics and economics.
Join me, Pavan Srinath,
And me, Hamsini Hariharan.
as we analyze news and views from India and the world and talk to experts on a wide range of issues on the Pragati podcast.
Episodes out every fortnight.
You can find us on the IVM Podcasts app or wherever else you get your podcasts from.
If you have any questions for Cyrus, write to us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Or you can send an email to whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
All right, Naveen, what do we have on the AMAs? He's the anchor, Charanya. We are just a participants.
we're answering the question.
So he's Amitabh Bachchan and we are the nobodies who nobody remembers.
Yeah.
But I got 25,000.
But I got a great story, sir. When I first watched your movie,
Yeah.
it blew my mind, etc. I should outside your
That's
house.
what I like about reality shows these days, even Big Boss.
Yeah.
Everything has to go to some emotional discourse for some reason. What is with this emotional thing in India? Why are we going through this?
मेरे पापा आर्मी में थे.
That whole thing. Yeah.
हमारे घर में पानी नहीं आता है.
मेरी मम्मी की काम 55 kilometers आगे थी फिर भी.
Okay, so speaking about reality shows that are about nothing, Alex asks, how about a show where you talk about cycling to work? Better health check, lesser traffic. Just about a...
I think Alex must be living in Brisbane, Australia, or a place where you can cycle to work and nobody will kill you. But if you are not a Dudwala and you're cycling in Mumbai, you'll feel like an idiot after 10 minutes. It's okay for those rich people with their spandex, out of shape men with no butts. Indian men have no glutes. Have you noticed that? and yet they wear these really tight.
I don't even know what glutes are.
I've been
hearing about them for ages.
So they wear these tight socks instead of shorts on their bum because one sock fits, and then they get on these cycles, which are very phallic, by the way. You'll enjoy all this rubbish. And when they're riding around at 6 in the morning.
I've never ridden a cycle. I don't know.
No, but if you ride at 9 to work, it's a different experience altogether because that's when they will kill you.
Yeah.
They have right of way at 6 and I quietly drive my car on the side like a loser. But at 9:30,
they have right of way at 6?
Well, in civilized countries, the law is such that first right of way is pedestrian,
correct.
Second is cyclists, and third is the government cars, the taxis of that country.
But most movies that I've watched that are based in Europe where somebody's riding a cycle.
By Europe, you mean?
Always gets hit by a bus.
Are you talking about Sanjay Leela Bhansali films? Because they're banned. They're banned right now.
No, I'm talking. That's not even in Europe.
Oh, Rajasthan is not in Europe. Rajasthan is not in Europe. You don't know anything.
That is in Africa. Anyways, so like most of the time the protagonist is riding a bicycle on the empty roads of Paris or something, and they always get hit by a cycle, another cycle or a bus or a car.
But that's because you want the movie to go ahead. But I'm talking about real life
happens
here.
In Bombay.
Tell Alex not to ride a cycle in Mumbai or Delhi or any of our cities.
Unless you work in one of those fancy offices where they let you take a shower when you come in.
Don't talk nonsense. Try cycling in the middle of Mumbai heat, 40 kilometers. What idiot will do that? It's not like the same experience that he's having in some other cold climate.
True.
And then you have to shower eventually.
Yeah,
irrespective of how you travel in Bombay, you have to shower.
Listen, I've been talking
every time you get out of the sun, 5 minutes, you got to shower.
Along with spitting in public, I think cycling should just be banned between 9 and 6.
Yeah, because cyclists also face this problem. I was a young cyclist when I was around 8 or 9.
What was a young cyclist?
You're like 20 now.
I'm 26 now.
Yeah, so what are you talking about? I was a young cyclist. What have you accomplished?
8 or 9 years old.
You've been cycling since you were 1.
So I was going on the left side of the road, and this guy is driving his bike on the wrong side of the road, and then we just collide, and I landed up on his lap after 2 seconds. But
that sounded almost sexual. Why would you tell me a story that way?
My cycle was squished from the front. It was very.
I just want to know one thing. You please understand that bike riders in India don't have any understanding of law and should be shot on sight. Okay, there should be a law that allows us to shoot them with guns. Whenever we pass a guy on a motorbike on the wrong side of the road, you should just shoot him. And people should then, you should be given like a huge award, a national award, and feted in front of 10,000 rich people with saris that are very expensive. Coming back, do you have any more stories on your cycling experience, or can we move on?
I have
several young cyclist stories.
We could recycle one.
What?
Nothing.
Okay, next one. This is from Pallavi. Why do planners have maps at the back? Why do planners yearly diaries, the ones that they still publish?
Oh, they have maps at the back.
They have maps at the back. Why?
From the old days. It's more like an 80s story.
Even now they have those
diaries and those maps at the back.
Yeah.
I think once they think that you have no direction in your life, and so that once you finish writing whatever rubbish you're writing in class, you reach a point where they say, okay, now observe and see where India is, and try to figure out where you are in relation to India. It makes you feel small.
You're a tiny person.
Or for middle class kids like me, those diaries become like homework book or something like that. So you carry it to school, and we would play this game where basically the other person has to look away.
Well, when you say middle class kids, first you call yourself a young cyclist. Now what do you think we are?
I'm defining my character.
What do you think we are?
Arc here, if you see.
You think I was born with millions of dollars?
You were.
No, I wasn't. That means nothing. Because my dad was a bank employee. What are you talking about? just use your head.
Who's that guy downstairs who was driving your car?
That's my dad. He doesn't have a job at the moment. So.
Should have said namaste to him by coming up.
Yeah.
But so...
Nowadays...
If you say namaste to a Parsi, you'll get a slap. We're the last of the non-namaste people.
What do we say?
Kemcho.
That makes a lot of sense actually.
See, for me, abuse is always relative to what you're feeling. If you say a smile, it's not really a bad word.
Yeah.
It's how friends talk to each other.
True.
So we should not overdo this abuse thing.
Exactly.
Although Patanjali products are saying that abuse is bad.
No, recently like come under a lot of scanner. We are going to beep all of this.
What is this?
Yeah.
Come under the scanner.
Because it's obviously sexist, but then people enjoy saying it so much. It's a part of life for most of North Indians, right? It's just a part of saying Papa
listen. has moved far away from North India. It's all over
I
India.
think it's
Don't
all
say that
over.
it's like a pocket of bloody one in Aligarh or something. No. It's all across
way
India.
of life there.
Yeah.
I really relish saying it also.
I say it just for fun.
Yeah,
For me, it's like
exactly, it's
exercise. I do 10 reps of.
Okay, last question.
Bolo.
This one is more.
Hurry up.
This one is existential.
Oh, okay.
How do you overcome moments of self-doubt? Lavanya is asking.
Lavanya or Lavanya? One is south, one is north. See, I know my Lavanyas.
She didn't
I
also
never get that wrong.
My name
I got
rhymes with
fired by
lasagna.
2 Lavanyas and Lavanya throughout for 10 years.
No,
So
she writes that her name rhymes with lasagna, so it's Lavanya.
Okay.
So she asks, how do you overcome moments of self-doubt?
Lavanya, this is a very difficult question to answer. I try not to introspect. I remember what Arnold wrote on page 47 of the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. People spend too much time introspecting. You think, should I move my elbow this way? Should I put my arm that way? Should I look at 2 minutes into the mirror before I start? Forget introspecting too much. Just get on with life. So I try not to. I feel introspecting destroys your life.
Really?
Life is about doing. You know the word...
I feel like my generation is all about introspection.
No,
We're like, we go to therapy and stuff.
explain. The word side in suicide or fratricide or patricide, what does side mean? To kill. Okay? So don't waste time deciding because you're killing everything. The word side means you're killing. You're killing your art, you're killing your craft, you're killing your life. So don't waste time thinking so much. Get on with it sometimes. I do believe that we Indians especially, or people who are intellectual, DNA intellect, let's face it, don't want to be racist, but intellectual DNA is higher than most other people. Without being, I hope I don't offend anyone, but it's true.
Yeah, none of us are getting offended anymore.
Yeah, I'm okay.
No, not us. What it means, you put an Indian somewhere else and you know he'll succeed now because of the intellectual DNA.
We're just absorbing the stage advice until you make it.
Of course, he won't be able to hold his drinks in the bar, but then everybody's got something going for them. Each race has something going for them. Yeah. So I'm just saying that we spend too much time introspecting. This is my belief, and we need to do more. We need to act more. We need more of the German and the Jap. They have the ability to act more and think a little less. And this is my gift. This is my gift to India.
That does.
This is my gift to India. Yes. Like, why are you always late, Naveen? See, I'm never late.
I'm on time.
You said 11:15, you came at 11:20. For me, in my society, one testicle would be removed for that. 5 minutes is fooling.
That's why now it makes sense for me to call myself a middle class kid who rode a bicycle to station.
No, you have to call yourself you're an Indian. You're an Indian with the intellectual DNA, and with that comes that alsiness and that it'll happen.
Wow, yeah,
the theory of shunyata, nothingness. Ho jayega.
Yeah, but I arrived.
Ho jayega. Stay in the bubble.
Float. So you're not introspecting, you're extrospecting, and you're
charge
and channeling all that.
Find the Chinggis Khan in you. Act.
Seriously, I don't think anybody gives this kind of advice about introspection. Everybody's like, always know who you are.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, exactly.
Introspection.
Everybody's like, stop thinking about yourself.
Like, there are millions of self-help books.
For me, introspections are like mirrors. I hate mirrors.
Have you tried reading Secrets by Rhonda Byrne?
I have read it.
Why are you taking this conversation?
I'm talking
Stop it here.
Self-doubt and everything. We have to cover the question.
We'll cover it. Pallavi's lost interest.
No, this is Lavanya.
Oh, Lavanya's lost interest with Pallavi.
You lost the name. And the plot.
I introspected. And this is what happened.
That's true.
That's it.
Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps. Please, we beg you, we need you. If you have any questions, write to us online and you can mail us as well. We will answer. We have a doctor in the house called May.
And that's what Cyrus says.
Excuse me, भैया. Excuse me.
बोले मैडम.
मेन्यू में क्या है?
मेन्यू में सीन अनसीन है, पॉडकास्ट है, ऑन कोर्स है, साइरस सेज है, मेड इन इंडिया, रीडिस्कवरी प्रोजेक्ट, एम्पावरिंग सीरीज, सेक्स वैक्स है, IVM लाइक्स है, सिंप्लीफाइड है, कीपिंग इट क्वियर है, ड्रिंक्स एंड डेस्टिनेशंस है, माय नेबर जकरबर्ग है और द फैन गराज है. आपको क्या चाहिए?
एक बार रिपीट कर देंगे क्या?
रिपीट नहीं करता हम. आप जाओ IVMpodcast.com पे और सुनो ये सब, या फिर डाउनलोड करो उनका ऐप. सब आपकी उंगलियों पे.